They expected the human princess to flee. She chose war instead. She had lived here all her life, but today everything felt different. The air was thick with tension, whispers of war filling the streets even before the morning bells rang. The alien coalition, a fleet unlike anything the humans had seen, was approaching fast. Illyria, one of the most prosperous human systems, was about to be tested in ways no one could have imagined. Seraphine's advisors and generals were already meeting in the council room. Their faces were lined with worry. Maps of star systems, fleets, and battle strategies covered the large table in the center. The palace halls echoed with discussions of evacuation, retreat, and diplomacy. Everyone assumed the princess would choose safety over conflict. After all, she was young, inexperienced in battle, and beloved by the people. Keeping her alive was considered more important than the survival of the entire kingdom, but Seraphine did not see it that way. She understood the fear of the council, and she respected the wisdom of her generals. Yet something deep within her refused to hide behind walls while the rest of her people faced danger. She remembered the stories her father had told her as a child, stories of human courage, of leaders who stood beside their people in the darkest times. Hiding, fleeing, or surrendering had never been their way. She moved quietly from her chamber, her long cloak brushing the polished marble floor. Servants and guards bowed, expecting her to retreat to the inner sanctum or to board the fastest escape vessel. She smiled softly at them, knowing they did not yet understand her choice. Her boots clicked on the steps as she descended to the courtyard, where a small group of soldiers had gathered for morning training. The sound of sparring swords and the shouts of drills filled the air, yet the princess barely noticed. Her attention was elsewhere, on the larger problem looming in the stars. When she stepped into the courtyard, the soldiers paused. It was unusual for the princess to come out at such an early hour. Some of them exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to salute or stay at ease. Seraphine raised her hand gently. "Good morning," she said. Her voice was calm but carried a strength that made the soldiers stand straighter. "I have come to watch and to learn. Not from the maps or the strategies on the table, but from you, the people who will fight for this kingdom." A murmur of respect ran through the group. Even the most seasoned soldiers found it difficult to remain indifferent when the princess spoke with such sincerity. She walked among them, observing their techniques, asking questions about their weapons, their tactics, and their experiences on previous missions. Each question she asked was simple, yet it revealed her sharp mind and her desire to understand the reality of war, not just its theory. "You are ready," she said finally, her eyes scanning the courtyard. "But the enemy is not just a fleet of ships. They do not understand humans. They think we are fragile, that we will hide and flee. They believe the princess will leave before the first shot is fired. We will show them otherwise." The soldiers felt a new energy stirring inside them. Her words were not orders, they were a promise. They knew then that the princess would not abandon them, that she would face whatever came with courage and resolve. Back in the council room, her advisors argued. "Your Highness," one general said, his voice tight with concern, "we cannot risk your life. If you remain here, the enemy may capture or kill you. Our priority must be to evacuate you to a safe system." Seraphine looked at him steadily. "And if I leave, what message does that send to our people?" she asked quietly. "Do you think they will fight harder knowing their princess is safe behind walls while they face the storm alone?" The general hesitated, unable to answer. Seraphine continued, her voice firm now. "I will not run. I will stand with our people. If Illyria falls because we were afraid to act, then it is not just the palace that is lost. It is the spirit of humanity. I will not allow that to happen." The room was silent. Even the most experienced diplomats and military leaders understood the gravity of her words. Seraphine was not just a symbol of royalty. She was becoming a symbol of human courage. Outside the palace, the city continued its daily rhythm, though the sense of impending war could not be ignored. Markets buzzed with merchants preparing supplies for soldiers and families alike. Children clung to their parents, sensing tension in the air. The streets were crowded with citizens who had no ships to flee in, no escape routes to follow. Seraphine walked among them in the disguise of a simple robe and hood, observing, listening, learning. She wanted to see the people she was about to lead into war, not as distant subjects, but as humans, as individuals with dreams, fears, and hopes. She stopped at a small bakery where the baker handed her a loaf of bread with trembling hands. "Your Highness," he whispered, "we heard about the fleet. Please take care of yourself." Seraphine smiled gently. "And you take care of your family," she said. "We are all part of the same fight. If we lose our courage, we lose everything. But if we face this together, we can endure." The baker nodded, unsure whether to feel comforted or fearful. Seraphine moved on, walking through the crowded streets, noticing the small acts of bravery. The woman carrying water to soldiers at the training grounds, the young man helping repair communication equipment, the children offering flowers to the guards. These acts were quiet, almost invisible, but they were the heart of Illyria. They were human courage made real. By mid-afternoon, the council received reports of the alien fleet approaching the outer systems. Their ships were enormous, with technology that shimmered with colors humans had never seen. Some generals urged immediate countermeasures, others suggested negotiation or feigned surrender. Seraphine listened to every opinion, but she made no sudden decisions. She understood that war was not only about power. It was about understanding the enemy, predicting their moves, and inspiring those who would stand beside you. As night fell, the city glowed under the twin moons, casting long shadows over the palace and the streets below. The people of Illyria were restless but hopeful. Soldiers prepared their equipment, families packed essential belongings, and scouts monitored the distant stars. The princess returned to her chamber, not to hide, but to plan. She reviewed reports from her scouts, spoke with her generals about possible strategies, and considered the strengths and weaknesses of the alien fleet. Every piece of information mattered, every decision counted. Yet Seraphine also remembered the human element. She did not forget the faces she had seen that morning, the courage of ordinary citizens, the loyalty of her soldiers, or the fears that could so easily become despair. Her mind worked not only in tactics but in inspiration. To win this war, she knew she must lead with heart as much as strategy. Late into the night, she stood by the palace balcony, looking out at the stars. The alien fleet was still distant, but the tension in her chest was unmistakable. For a moment, doubt crept in. What if she failed? What if the people of Illyria were overwhelmed? What if her decision to stand rather than flee brought disaster instead of hope? But then she remembered the stories her father had told, the stories of humans who had faced impossible odds and still triumphed. She thought of the faces she had seen in the streets, the determination in their eyes. They would not run. They would not hide, and neither would she. When dawn approached again, Seraphine was ready. She had made her choice, and it was clear in every action she would take. She would stand with her people, guide them, and face the coming storm with courage. Illyria would not be a city that fell in silence. It would rise, and its rise would be led by the princess who chose war over safety, who chose hope over fear, and who chose her people above all else. And so, as the first light of morning touched the palace spires, Seraphine prepared herself to step into history. The galaxy expected a frightened princess. Instead, they would see a leader, a human who refused to surrender, and a symbol of hope that no enemy could extinguish. The morning air was crisp as the sun rose over Illyria's capital. Princess Seraphine stood on the balcony of the palace, her eyes scanning the horizon where distant stars marked the approach of the alien fleet. Her advisors had worked through the night, debating strategies, adjusting predictions, and calculating the enemy's movements. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned in technology, yet Seraphine refused to let fear guide her decisions. Every setback was an opportunity, every challenge a reason to rise. By mid-morning, the first reports came in. A small outpost on the outer rim, responsible for monitoring the trade routes, had encountered the aliens. The outpost's sensors had detected ships moving at incredible speed, their patterns unpredictable and alien to human technology. The humans had expected to have days to prepare, but the alien coalition was moving faster than anyone had anticipated. "Your Highness," General Ryland said, his voice tight with concern as he presented the reports, "they've reached the outer rim far sooner than predicted. If we do not respond immediately, they may strike multiple outposts before we can even mobilize." Seraphine nodded, her expression calm but determined. "We will respond," she said, "but not with fear. We will respond with strategy. Gather the commanders. I want a plan that uses our strengths, not just tries to copy theirs." The generals looked at her, puzzled. "Your Highness, we are outmatched," one of them said. "They have superior firepower. A direct confrontation could be disastrous." Seraphine's eyes met theirs, steady and unwavering. "Then we will not meet them head-on. We will be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable. Humans have survived not because of the size of their weapons, but because of their creativity and courage. I will lead a team myself to the outer rim. We will show them that underestimating humans is their first mistake." The generals were silent. No one expected the princess to leave the safety of the palace, yet she was already preparing. She called together a small team of elite officers, handpicked for their skill, courage, and loyalty. Each member had faced danger before, but none had ever seen the princess step into it with such resolve. "We leave at dusk," she announced. "We move swiftly and we act decisively. Every choice we make will be calculated. We cannot rely on sheer strength, so we must rely on intelligence, timing, and teamwork. Understand?" "Yes, Your Highness," they replied in unison. As the day passed, preparations moved quickly. Ships were fueled, weapons checked, communication systems tested. Seraphine personally oversaw every detail, asking questions, offering solutions, and ensuring nothing was overlooked. She did not rush or panic. Her calm determination inspired the team around her. Soldiers worked harder, engineers thought more creatively, and even the most skeptical officers began to believe that perhaps humans were capable of facing this challenge. Before leaving the palace, Seraphine visited the city once more. She walked through the crowded streets, greeting citizens, shaking hands with soldiers, and offering words of encouragement. Every person she met seemed to draw strength from her presence. Mothers smiled through their worry, children waved, and soldiers straightened their posture. Her actions were not grand gestures, but simple, human connections that reminded everyone why they were fighting. "Princess Seraphine," a young soldier said nervously, "we are honored to follow you, but is it safe?" "What if—" "Safety is never guaranteed," she interrupted gently. "Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting even when you are afraid. Remember that. We are not going to hide. We are going to protect our people, and we will do it with everything we have." By dusk, the team assembled at the spaceport. The sky was painted with the colors of twilight, and the stars began to shine faintly above. Illyria's capital was a web of lights, bridges, and crystal towers, glowing softly against the darkening sky. Seraphine boarded the command vessel, her chosen team beside her. The engines hummed to life, filling the hangar with vibrations that echoed like the heartbeat of Illyria itself. The journey to the outer rim was tense. Sensors scanned for alien ships, officers reviewed battle strategies, and Seraphine walked quietly through the control room, observing every detail. She asked questions, considered suggestions, and refined plans with the precision of someone who understood that in war, even small mistakes could be catastrophic. When they reached the outpost, the scene was grim. Buildings were damaged, communication arrays down, and a few scattered soldiers struggling to repair equipment. The alien fleet had passed swiftly, leaving chaos in its wake. Seraphine did not allow despair to take hold. She assessed the damage, assigned her team to repair key systems, and formulated a plan to intercept the next wave. Her first decision was not to attack immediately. Instead, she chose to use human ingenuity to her advantage. She instructed her officers to set up decoys, small drones mimicking human ships, sensors feeding false data, and automated defenses that could mislead the aliens. Every action was designed to exploit the enemy's assumptions that humans were simple and predictable. As the first alien scouts approached, Seraphine watched closely from the command center. The scouts moved confidently, expecting to find minimal resistance, yet the decoys confused them. Sensors misled them into thinking humans had more ships than they actually did. Communications were jammed just enough to create uncertainty. The aliens hesitated. "Your Highness," General Ryland said, awe in his voice, "they are unsure. They didn't expect this level of strategy from a human team. They are adapting slowly." Seraphine nodded, a small smile forming. "Good. Now we continue. Human creativity is our greatest weapon." Using the confusion, she led a small strike team on a rapid maneuver. Instead of facing the alien fleet head-on, they used the terrain of asteroid belts and gravitational fields to move unseen. The aliens, relying on standard detection systems, could not predict their path. Seraphine's team disrupted supply lines, disabled communication relays, and captured valuable data about the enemy's movements. Each success was small, but together they were significant. The soldiers under her command began to feel a surge of confidence. They realized that they were capable of more than they had imagined. The princess was not just leading, they were learning from her. They discovered that human determination, combined with clever planning, could overcome even the advanced technology of the aliens. At one point, during a quiet moment aboard the command vessel, Seraphine looked at her team and spoke softly. "They expect us to flee. They expect us to be afraid, but we are neither. They do not know what humans are capable of, and it is our duty to show them. Every small victory matters. Every clever maneuver counts. We are the guardians of Illyria, and we will not fail." Her words resonated deeply with the team. Each officer, engineer, and soldier understood the weight of responsibility and the power of unity. Fear was still present, but it was tempered by purpose and resolve. As the alien fleet adjusted to the interference, Seraphine anticipated their next move. She studied their patterns, their weaknesses, and the predictable overconfidence of a species that underestimated humans. When the next wave arrived, she was ready. Using a combination of traps, decoys, and precise maneuvers, her team forced the aliens to retreat temporarily. No major destruction occurred. Her goal was not to kill, but to demonstrate human capability and resilience. Throughout the night, the strikes continued. Each action was calculated, strategic, and non-lethal whenever possible. The alien coalition began to see that humans were unpredictable, clever, and coordinated. Even among the soldiers, there was awe. Humans who had felt small, powerless, or inexperienced realized that with determination and strategy, they could achieve the impossible. By dawn, the team returned to the damaged outpost to rest and repair systems. Seraphine walked among the soldiers, praising their work, offering encouragement and reminding them of the larger mission. "Every action we take sends a message," she said, "not just to the enemy but to our people. They need to see that we do not flee, that we do not surrender. They need hope, and hope is stronger than fear." Word of her actions began to spread through the outer systems. Humans in nearby colonies and planets learned that the princess was not hiding in safety. She was leading strikes, coordinating defenses, and inspiring soldiers. The alien coalition, on the other hand, grew cautious. The humans were proving themselves unpredictable, creative, and united, a far more dangerous opponent than they had anticipated. Seraphine, despite exhaustion, refused to rest completely. She spent hours reviewing every report, every strategy, and every action taken during the night. Her mind was sharp, calculating the next steps, considering alternatives, and always seeking ways to maximize human advantage without unnecessary risk. She reminded herself that leadership was not only about bravery, it was about responsibility, planning, and foresight. That evening, as the team gathered around a small campfire near the outpost, Seraphine spoke once more. "Today we have proven something important," she said. "Not that humans are stronger than aliens or faster or better armed. We have proven that we are smart, courageous, and united. That is what makes us formidable. They may have ships and weapons we do not understand, but they cannot match the spirit of a people who fight together for their home, their families, and each other. Remember this. Never forget it. And tomorrow, we will continue to show them exactly what humans are capable of." The soldiers nodded, inspired by her words. Even in the darkest moments, with the alien fleet approaching, there was hope. There was confidence. There was a belief that together, under the guidance of a princess who refused to flee, they could face anything. As Seraphine looked up at the stars that night, she felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep sense of purpose. This was only the beginning. The battle for Illyria had started, and humans had already begun to surprise the galaxy, not with sheer force but with courage, intelligence, and unity. And so, the first victory, small but meaningful, was won. The alien fleet had been delayed, human strategy had succeeded, and the soldiers had learned that they could trust in themselves and in their leader. Illyria was not just surviving, it was beginning to show the universe that humans would fight, and humans would endure, no matter the odds. The morning sun spread a soft light over Illyria's outpost. Princess Seraphine stood on the observation deck of her command vessel, looking out at the stars. The alien fleet had not advanced as quickly as expected, but they were regrouping. Sensors showed large ships moving with precision, preparing for a counterattack. The humans were outnumbered, yet the princess remained calm. She had learned that in war, fear was a weakness, but patience and planning were a strength. Her team gathered around her, reviewing strategies and communications reports. The soldiers had grown more confident over the past days, inspired by Seraphine's leadership. Their training now extended beyond combat drills. They were learning to anticipate the enemy, to use the environment to their advantage, and to coordinate actions in ways the aliens did not expect. "We cannot let them dictate the terms of battle," Seraphine said. "They believe they control the skies, but humans are clever. They expect straightforward attacks. We will do something they cannot predict." The officers exchanged glances, realizing she was speaking about more than tactics. She was talking about human creativity, imagination, and courage. These were tools no alien technology could replicate. Seraphine decided to take a small strike team to the asteroid field nearby. The field was treacherous, full of floating rocks and hidden gravitational currents, but it was also a perfect place to stage an ambush. She selected the most skilled pilots and strategists for the mission. Her plan was simple: use the terrain, human ingenuity, and precise timing to disrupt the alien fleet without risking large-scale battles. The journey to the asteroid field was tense. Every sensor reading was analyzed, every communication monitored. Seraphine's mind worked like a clock, calculating movements, predicting enemy responses, and finding opportunities to turn the situation in their favor. The strike team moved quietly, using small, nimble ships that could weave through the asteroids. Once inside the field, Seraphine demonstrated her approach to leadership. She positioned her ships in unexpected formations, making it appear as though the fleet was larger than it actually was. Drones were deployed to mislead the alien scouts. Automated decoys mimicked human movements, creating confusion in the enemy ranks. Every maneuver was designed to exploit the aliens' assumptions that humans were predictable and disorganized. The first wave of alien ships arrived, moving cautiously into the field. Sensors showed hesitation. The aliens did not expect humans to act in this way. They paused, trying to recalibrate their strategy, and Seraphine saw her opportunity. She signaled her team to advance in a coordinated strike. The strike was precise and deliberate. Humans moved quickly through the asteroid field, cutting off supply lines and disabling communication relays. There was no need for excessive force. Small, strategic actions created maximum disruption. The aliens had never encountered such an approach. They were used to overwhelming attacks, but these human maneuvers were smart, unpredictable, and difficult to counter. Back at the outpost, the human soldiers watched the movements of their leaders with awe. They realized that strategy, intelligence, and courage could match even the advanced technology of the aliens. This revelation gave them hope and renewed determination. They understood that humans were not powerless. They could fight, adapt, and succeed against any challenge. As the day progressed, Seraphine continued to lead her strike team with precision. She monitored every move, offered guidance, and encouraged her officers to think creatively. Her leadership style inspired the humans to act confidently, make decisions quickly, and support one another. They began to see themselves not just as soldiers, but as a coordinated force capable of facing the unknown. The aliens, frustrated by the unexpected tactics, regrouped and tried to predict human movements. They assumed the humans would continue the same pattern, but Seraphine had already planned her next maneuver. Using another hidden path through the asteroid field, she positioned her ships to flank the enemy, creating pressure without engaging in direct confrontation. The aliens faltered. Confusion spread among their ranks, and reports of miscommunication reached their command ships. Humans were proving difficult to understand, and the aliens began to underestimate the simplicity of their opponent. Seraphine recognized that the key to victory was not overwhelming force, but consistent, clever strategy. At one point, she paused, looking at the stars above. Her mind considered the larger picture, the outpost, the city, and the people who relied on her decisions. Every choice she made had consequences beyond the battlefield. She understood the responsibility of leadership, not just for victories, but for the lives of those she sought to protect. She returned to her team, giving clear instructions for the next phase of the mission. We will continue to move through the asteroid field, disrupting their fleet and protecting the outpost. Remember, each action matters. Small victories build momentum. We are not just fighting ships, we are inspiring humans to believe in themselves. The strike team executed her plan flawlessly. Alien ships were forced to retreat temporarily, unable to anticipate the humans' movements. Sensors confirmed that the aliens were confused and regrouping. The humans had not destroyed their enemies, but they had demonstrated capability, resilience, and ingenuity. Seraphine returned to the outpost later that evening. Her team was tired but triumphant. Soldiers repaired damaged equipment, organized supplies, and prepared for the next phase of the battle. The princess walked among them, praising their efforts and reminding them of the importance of unity. Today we showed them that humans are not simple. We are not predictable. We are strong because we think, we plan, and we stand together. Remember this and never underestimate yourselves. News of her actions spread quickly across the surrounding systems. Humans on nearby planets and colonies learned that the princess had personally led the strike team and had successfully disrupted the alien fleet. The story inspired confidence, not fear, among citizens who had previously felt powerless. They saw that their leader would not hide, that humans could fight intelligently, and that hope was alive even in the face of overwhelming odds. As night fell, Seraphine remained vigilant. She reviewed reports, analyzed the alien fleet's movements, and considered potential responses. Her calm and focused demeanor reassured her officers and soldiers. They knew that with her guidance, they could face the challenges ahead with courage and confidence. Throughout the night, the outpost remained on high alert. Scouts reported distant movements, communications monitored possible attacks, and engineers continued repairs. Seraphine worked tirelessly, balancing strategy with encouragement, ensuring that every human action was purposeful and effective. By the following morning, the humans had established a stronger foothold at the outpost. Small, clever actions had delayed the alien fleet, protected vital systems, and built morale among soldiers and citizens alike. Seraphine had proven that leadership, ingenuity, and courage could level the playing field even against superior technology. She gathered her team and addressed them once more. "The battle is far from over," she said. "But today, we learned something important. Humans are not defined by our weapons or numbers. We are defined by our minds, our courage, and our unity. The aliens may have ships and technology we cannot match, but they cannot match the human spirit. That is what will carry us through the challenges ahead." Her words were met with nods, determination, and renewed energy. Soldiers understood that the fight was not only against an enemy fleet, but also for the confidence and spirit of humanity. Each small action mattered, and every human involved was a part of the larger victory. As Seraphine looked at the stars above, she felt the weight of responsibility, but also the promise of what humans could achieve. The battle for Illyria had begun, and already humans were proving their worth, not through destruction, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. In the days that followed, the pattern continued. Seraphine's leadership inspired humans across the system. Her strategy disrupted the alien fleet's plans, protected key locations, and strengthened morale. Citizens and soldiers alike learned that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans could act boldly, think creatively, and endure. By the end of this phase, the humans had not only delayed the enemy but had also begun to shift the perception of their own capabilities. Illyria was no longer a passive victim. It was a force guided by a princess who refused to flee, who refused to surrender, and who believed in the power of human ingenuity. Seraphine stood once more on the observation deck, looking at the stars. The alien fleet was still present, but humans had proven their strength, not through destruction, but through courage and intelligence. The path ahead would be challenging, but she knew that together, humans could face it. And so, the first major test of her leadership was complete. The aliens had underestimated humans, and the humans had shown them that they were capable of more than anyone had expected. The battle for Illyria was far from over, but hope, courage, and ingenuity had taken the first step toward victory. The stars stretched endlessly above Illyria's outer system, silent witnesses to the tension that gripped the human fleet. Princess Seraphine stood on the bridge of the command vessel, her eyes fixed on the approaching alien ships. The fleet had regrouped after their first encounter, larger and more organized than before. Yet, the princess felt no fear. Over the past days, she had seen the power of human courage, ingenuity, and unity, and she knew that Illyria's people would rise to the challenge once again. Her officers were gathered around, reviewing maps, sensor readings, and communication logs. Their confidence had grown steadily under her leadership. The small victories in the asteroid field and the outpost had inspired not only the soldiers but the citizens of nearby systems. Humans were no longer seen as weak or predictable. They were clever, resilient, and determined. "We will not face them with force alone," Seraphine said, her voice calm but firm. "We will use strategy, coordination, and the advantage of our knowledge. They expect humans to act in predictable ways, but we will be anything but predictable." The generals nodded, understanding her plan. This was not about overwhelming the enemy with weapons. It was about outthinking them, using every human skill, every small advantage, to create a larger impact. The princess had always believed that humans were strongest when they worked together, when every person contributed their mind, heart, and courage to a common goal. As the alien fleet entered the outer system, sensors detected small ships weaving through the formation, carrying out reconnaissance. Seraphine had anticipated this. She deployed a series of decoy drones, making the aliens believe their numbers were far larger than reality. Simultaneously, she directed small teams of humans to use natural gravitational fields and asteroid clusters as cover, moving undetected closer to key enemy ships. "Your Highness," General Ryland said, his voice low with awe, "they are falling into the traps exactly as you predicted. They are cautious, hesitant, unsure of our numbers and positions." Seraphine smiled faintly. "Good. Now we use their hesitation to our advantage. Remember, we are not here to destroy them recklessly. We are here to demonstrate that humans are unpredictable, clever, and united. Every move matters. Every decision counts." The first phase of her plan was to disrupt the alien command network. Human teams, using stealth and ingenuity, infiltrated the enemy's communication nodes, rerouting signals and creating confusion. The aliens, expecting direct attacks, were caught off guard. Commands were delayed, coordination faltered, and their formations wavered. Seraphine's strategy relied not on overwhelming firepower, but on creating opportunities through careful planning and precise action. From the bridge of the command vessel, Seraphine observed the ripple effects of their maneuvers. Alien ships were repositioning, some retreating while others hesitated. The humans' confidence grew with each success. Soldiers who had doubted themselves began to act boldly, using creativity and teamwork to outmaneuver the aliens. The princess had taught them that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. As the humans pressed their advantage, Seraphine led a small team on a decisive mission to approach the alien flagship and gather critical intelligence. Using the cover of the asteroid belt, the team navigated through narrow spaces, avoiding detection. The tension was palpable, but each member of the team relied on training, trust, and the leadership of their princess. They reached a position close enough to gather detailed readings. The data revealed weaknesses in the alien fleet's formation and communication systems. Seraphine quickly analyzed the information and formulated the next phase of their plan. She relayed instructions to the wider human fleet, coordinating maneuvers that would exploit these weaknesses while minimizing risk to her own people. The humans moved with precision. Small teams acted simultaneously across multiple points, confusing the aliens and preventing them from forming a coherent defense. Decoy ships, stealth maneuvers, and synchronized attacks created the illusion of a much larger force. The aliens, for the first time, were unsure of what they faced. They had encountered humans before, but never in such a coordinated, clever, and adaptive manner. Back at the outpost, soldiers and engineers watched the unfolding events with awe. They saw human skill and ingenuity in action, inspired by the courage of their leaders. For the first time, the citizens of Illyria understood that humans were not passive victims in the galaxy. They were active, clever, and capable of shaping their own destiny. Seraphine monitored every move, offering guidance and adjustments where needed. Her leadership was not just strategic, it was personal. She spoke with officers, encouraged soldiers, and reminded every human involved that their actions mattered. "Remember," she said, "we are more than numbers or ships. We are humans, and humans have the power to think, adapt, and endure. Let them underestimate us, but never underestimate yourselves." The alien fleet began to falter. Miscommunication, confusion, and clever human maneuvers slowed their advance. Their ships were not destroyed, but their confidence and coordination were weakened. Seraphine had proven that humans could match intelligence with ingenuity, and courage with careful planning. The next step was to secure the outer system and protect the planets within it. Seraphine directed teams to establish defensive perimeters, using natural terrain, clever positioning, and technological ingenuity. Sensors were placed in unexpected locations, automated systems created obstacles, and small human teams coordinated attacks that could delay and confuse the enemy. Every measure was designed to protect civilians while maximizing human advantage. Throughout the operation, Seraphine continued to inspire those under her command. Soldiers who had once doubted themselves now acted decisively, trusting their instincts and the guidance of their leader. Engineers devised creative solutions to challenges, pilots executed risky maneuvers with skill, and civilians contributed by maintaining communication networks and supplies. Illyria had become a web of coordinated human effort, united under the guidance of the princess who refused to flee. As the day progressed, the alien fleet attempted to regroup for a final push. Seraphine anticipated their movements, using data and intuition to stay one step ahead. Human teams executed coordinated strikes on critical nodes, disrupting communication and navigation. The aliens found themselves reacting to humans instead of leading, their confidence shaken. The climax of the confrontation came when Seraphine led her strike team in a bold maneuver to flank the alien formation. Using asteroids for cover and timing their movements perfectly, the humans appeared suddenly in multiple positions, forcing the aliens to divide their attention. The effect was immediate. Their formation weakened, and their coordinated plan fell apart. Back on the main command vessel, Seraphine watched the outcome unfold. The alien ships had not been destroyed, but they had been decisively disrupted. Their confidence was broken, their advance slowed, and their perception of humans forever altered. Humans were not simple, predictable beings. They were clever, united, and capable of facing overwhelming odds. The soldiers cheered quietly, careful not to draw attention from the still-present alien fleet. Engineers and support staff smiled, proud of the small but significant victories. Citizens listening via communication networks felt hope and confidence growing in their hearts. Illyria was no longer a passive observer of war. It was an active participant, led by a princess who had chosen courage over safety. Seraphine addressed her fleet one final time that evening. "Today, we have done more than defend our systems," she said. "We have shown ourselves and the galaxy what humans are capable of. We have proven that courage, creativity, and unity are as powerful as any weapon. Remember this, for the challenges ahead will test us even more. But if we act together with intelligence and heart, there is no obstacle we cannot face." Her words were met with quiet determination and unwavering loyalty. Soldiers, officers, and citizens alike understood the truth in her words. Humans had faced the impossible and had risen. They were stronger together, guided by courage, strategy, and leadership. As night fell, Seraphine looked out at the stars once more. The alien fleet lingered at the edges of the system, cautious and uncertain. The humans had not destroyed them, but they had gained something far more valuable: respect, confidence, and the knowledge that they could shape their own destiny. Throughout Illyria, people celebrated quietly. The victory was not one of destruction or death. It was a triumph of intelligence, courage, and unity. The citizens understood that their princess had not fled, had not hidden, but had chosen to stand beside them, inspiring them to rise to the challenge. The next morning, Seraphine walked among her people once more. Soldiers returned from their positions, engineers completed repairs, and citizens resumed their daily lives, strengthened by the knowledge that humans could endure and thrive even in the face of overwhelming odds. Children waved at the princess, and parents smiled with hope. Illyria had faced its first major test, and humans had prevailed, not through power alone but through heart, mind, and unity. The alien fleet retreated, not in defeat but in caution. They had underestimated humans, and that mistake would resonate across the galaxy. Illyria had survived, humans had grown stronger, and the human princess had proven that courage, strategy, and leadership could shape the future. Seraphine returned to the palace, weary but resolute. She had led her people through the storm and had shown them the true power of humanity. The galaxy had expected a frightened princess, but Illyria had witnessed a leader who refused to flee. She had chosen war not for glory, but for her people, and in doing so, she had changed the course of human history. Her final words to her officers and soldiers echoed the truth of their shared experience. We did not fight alone. Every person here, every citizen, every soldier, every hand that contributed has been part of this victory. Remember this and carry it forward. Humans are strong, clever, and united. That is how we endure, and that is how we will continue to thrive. And so, Illyria entered a new era. The human princess had chosen to stand and fight. She had inspired her people, challenged the expectations of the galaxy, and shown that humans could rise to any challenge with courage, intelligence, and unity. The war was far from over, but Illyria's people were ready. With their princess at their side, they knew that no obstacle was too great, no enemy too strong, and no challenge insurmountable. They expected the human princess to flee. She chose war instead.